George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead was released in 1978 and became a zombie horror classic. It was released in Europe, however, under the title Zombie. Italian director Lucio Fulci shot his own zombie opus 1 year later, and without his knowledge, the distributors and producers decided to title the film Zombie 2 to cash in on the success of Romero's film. In America, Fulci's movie was released simply as Zombie, which the director preferred because his movie was never made as an intentional follow-up to Dawn of the Dead. Then in 1988, Lucio Fulci went off to the Philippines to shoot a sequel to Zombie 2, which was to be called, obviously, Zombie 3. So there are two stories surrounding the production of the movie. The first is that Fulci had to leave the film after suffering a stroke, and the remainder of the film was completed by Bruno Mattei and writer Claudio Fragasso. The second story involves Fulci actually completing the film, but turning in only a 70-minute cut, which shocked the producers, who then hired Mattei to shoot more footage to pad out the film. Either way, the film had a troubled production. In America, the distributors must have forgotten what they titled Fulci's first movie because they simply titled it Zombie 3, when in actuality in the States it should have been called Zombie 2. So many horror fans in the 80s and 90s were always curious what happened to the second film in the Fulci zombie series. Then there were two unrelated movies that were retitled as part of the zombie franchise. After Death, the zombie movie from 1989, was released in the States as Zombie 4 After Death, and a movie about killer birds from 1987 was retitled in America as Zombie Part 5 Killing Birds, meaning Part 5 was shot and made before Parts 3 and 4.
Who told you to burn the body of the man infected with Death 1?
I had to close an episode.
The episode could open again. Hadn't it ever occurred to you that the ashes, assimilated into the air, could fall back to Earth again?
Yeah, idiot. Haven't you ever seen Return of the Living Dead? A group of scientists are working on an experiment called Death 1 with the goal of reanimating the dead. After a terrorist steals the virus and becomes infected, the military stupidly decides to cremate his body. Contaminated ash is released into the air where it infects a flock of birds. Soon there's a zombie outbreak, and a group of vacationers must team up with some soldiers to survive. The military sends out a hit squad in hopes of containing the virus, with instructions not to let anyone out of the infected zone, zombie or human.
Hey guys, this Blue Hearts music's great, huh?
Yeah, making me horny.
Zombie 3 is one of the most entertaining Italian zombie flicks of the 80s. It's a cheesy blast of over-the-top gore and gonzo horror. The film's pacing is swift, the special effects are solid, and there's several epic moments, like when a flock of birds breaks into an RV and begins attacking the vacationers as some metal song plays. Another epic and memorable moment involves a rather disturbing zombie baby attacking a victim from his mother's stomach.
Harder. That's right.
Zombie 3 features all the trappings of 80s Italian horror, a half-baked plot, terrible dubbing, and some of the worst dialogue ever put to celluloid. But it all adds to the film's awesomeness. Take this scene for example, featuring a poor Italian man's Jeffrey Combs.
There have been numerous incidents of inexplicable violence reported throughout the area. Murders, and people are eating each other.
Death 1.
We have to cut off the epidemic area.
Cut it off? How? By continuing to kill thousands of innocent victims?
You got a better idea?
Yeah, of course. We are already working on studying an antidote for what, in my belief, is a virus. We're looking for an element which will enable us to stop this virus from reproducing.
You gotta love that dubbing. But the icing on the fucking awesomeness cake is the film's most notorious moment involving a flying severed zombie head. That's right, a flying severed zombie head.
The fridge is empty too, huh?
Fulci claims this is the cinematic kill that he's most proud of. And it definitely is an entertaining and shocking moment, but it's also absurd and nonsensical. But that's Italian horror for you. There's no real lead character, and none of the characters are particularly memorable. It's just a group of zombie fodder getting picked off one by one. And the one dude that seems like he's going to be the hero gets killed off halfway through. I did like the idea of the containment team adding another threat for the survivors to avoid.
Can't you see we're not zombies? We're army like you. Army!
Go get him! Damn fool, what's the matter with you?
Although for the most part Zombie 3 is pretty flat, there are moments of Fulci greatness where he captures a few nightmarish images and creates some atmospheric moments. The zombies in this movie look pretty lame when compared to the zombies in Fulci's original. For the most part you can tell they're Filipino extras with makeup quickly thrown onto their faces. The zombies run and jump and use weapons as well. With all the production problems on the film, you would think Zombie 3 would be more convoluted, but it's actually a fairly cohesive film. The new footage Matei shot for the film consists of all the scientist scenes. It was to explain how the birds got infected and offer up an explanation for the containment team. The scenes work fine and do explain some plot holes that would have existed without it. Zombie 3 is a bad flick, but it's so bad it's good, and there are several redeeming qualities in the film, like the ultra gore and the unintentional comedy. I'm a big supporter of Zombie 3, and I would recommend it to any zombie or Italian horror fan. Oh, and I can't forget to mention how the film features what is simultaneously the coolest and shittiest end credits song of all time.
Going back to win, or humanity's done for.
I don't know the reasons of devil. I feel that something is bad. I don't wanna say what I'm feeling. He's here, he's here, he's here, he's here. I don't know the time to be burned now, 'cause my son could be one of them.
I like smoking. I take a toke on a joint every now and then, and once in a while I like to piss on a bush. Am I gonna go to hell for that?
No, not for so little.